What's going on, guys? We are back with another technique video. I am here with my student Raiden, and what we're going to go over is kind of a very controversial topic, not just on this channel, so to say, but also in the martial arts community, and it's specifically dealing with Filipino martial arts empty hand versus boxing. Now, kind of where this came from, as I was going through old videos and kind of getting a little bit more backstory to give you guys as this transition continues from Union Martial Arts to my personal channel. But in actually our most popular video, when we're teaching the how to float empty hands, essentially it's entry 1 in the curriculum that I teach. And what I was doing, and it was more of a tutorial based video, essentially I was doing what's called an entry 1 that I teach here at Union Martial Arts. So it was off of jab cross, and through this whole process it teaches you a grappling series to end up in a dominant position and have your partner in a submissive position. And in the comments below, because I do read all the comments, people would say, try that on a boxer. In a street fight, they'll punch too fast, that you can't do that, so on and so forth. And I'm not here to argue about the application versus the art side, especially in this video. I think that is very, very subjective, and that'll differentiate between everyone on this planet, pretty much. But let's play the role. Raiden's going to act as a boxer, so of course, as a boxer, whatever level this person might be at, their punches are going to be a little more snappy, they're going to be a little more quick, and there's a little more technique behind it, right? So if we're looking at a real jab is popping out and coming back in, popping out, coming back in, and it'll be a lot harder for me to essentially work off of the jab, and which is why we moved to the cross. And we'll touch base on that a little bit later. But when reversing a boxer, so to say, there is a certain aspect of empty hand. Sometimes it's known as panantukin, which is dirty boxing. And it was specifically, at least to what I know, the American interpretation was against Western boxing, right? And at first, Western boxing adapted a stance that looked like this, and eventually it transforms into this. But a lot of the techniques are still very applicable. Now, when it comes to working against a jab and cross, we're working with boxing timing. We're working with a 1-2, 1-2, right? So I don't have much time for me to go from the 1-2 and then use this all the way into this line here. That's more of a compliancy act from Raiden, right? So I know this punch is going to be a little heavier than the jab, but both of them are going to be relatively quick, and they're going to be snappy where it comes right back into a frame of some sort. So let's break this down. We start from the jab. With the jab, I have a few options. My first option is simply just a parry. And when I parry, I'm just trying to re-guide it. Remember, a parry is more of a redirection. It's not a stopping point. And in some cases, a very dominant parry can set a line that you can work with. But in its very own essence, I'm just trying to get it out of the way. So he's trying to punch my face, and I just parry it out of the way. Right? Very, very easy. Less grappling. Just more committed on not getting hit. Okay? And now, when we enter the panantukin world, or we enter the empty hand world, you'll see a lot more influence from the blade, and you'll see that in the elbow, you'll see it in knees, and things of that nature, meant to destruct. So when this jab comes slowly, essentially what I can do, and you can do the elbow in different lines, but one of my favorite ones is I'll parry with my left hand instead, and I'll essentially sandwich it and guide it into my elbow, and that's meant to go against the knuckles and essentially damage the hand, right? Maybe breaking it depending on how hard you hit it, how hard it crashes. So with the same timing that I could get with a parry, I use both my hands to do kind of a shield concept, and I hit the knuckles. So I'm trying to destruct it there, right? And so if I had a blade, I would run the same line. Now, because I can simply just strike and then subtract myself from the situation, I can maintain the boxing tempo. It doesn't have to be, this is always going to go here, and then I'm going to work off of that hand. It could just simply be, I see the jab and I see it on time, bang, done. Right? And that concept kind of falls into the cross as well. So with the cross, you can also parry, right? Just parry, making sure that you don't get hit. Right? Obviously, there involves a little bit of movement with my body, narrowing my frame, stepping to the side, so on and so forth. You can also do the gunting concept, which is one of my favorites. So with the cross comes slowly. I'm parrying it, but at the same time, I'm going to dissect it with either my knuckles, and I'm going to rake it, or I can use my empty hand and slap it inside of the bicep here, and that's just going to rake and hit. Now the difference is, because for example, in an entry number 4 that I teach here, entry number 4 looks like this, where we do a gunting, and then we flow into the same kind of similar grapple as entry 1, where all that controversy was. The most important thing when I do this gunting is when I do it, I'm going to commit and not care. So you see my hands come right back into me. I'm ready to continue striking. Because I'm not using a gunting as a setup, I'm using it as an attack or a counter. Just like I did on the parry, just like I did on the jab, how I parried and I also elbowed, I can also elbow on the cross. So again, I can do the same line, I can do a vertical line, I can also do a horizontal line, crash it right in. And the idea is instead of kind of just meeting it here, I'm trying to swipe away at it. Right? I'm trying to swipe and hit and be done with it. And that's how I maintain the boxing tempo. Not really caring about going jab, cross, grapple all the time. And that is a way to take away, the attributes of a boxer by getting in close. But it can also be a way to negate that by using a separate type of range. And again, we'll touch base on that a little bit later too. So let's piece that together and see how it looks. So we have a jab cross, parry, parry, right? I could parry, parry, a little slower. I can go parry, elbow, a little slower, parry, gunting. I can go elbow to elbow, and I can also go elbow to parry. And all of that interchanges. That depends on the line, that depends on where we are, my speed, my ability to time that. Again, I'm not going to talk about application here, but those are essentially combinations that you could start doing against a jab cross, specifically against a boxer with a little bit more faster hands. Now, we're not going to get to uppercuts right now, but the more common thing as well are hooks. And hooks are, whether trained or not, they're kind of like the wild haymakers, the overhands, but the more of the round punches. So when a hook comes, of course, I could essentially try to do these things, but the safer bet is to do what's called a shield. So if we work with a hook over here, I'm trying to go into the range of grappling, but I'm not going to grapple. I'm going to shield, where I'm going to use my arm as a strong frame to absorb as much as I need to for me to counter inside here. Now again, I could flow into that Khalifo that we spoke of, but assuming this is a boxer, and whether there's rules or not, I'm going to assume that he's going to follow up with another punch. He's not going to allow me to stay within here for too long. He's going to realize that he didn't connect, he's going to follow up with a left hand, or he's going to draw this back and then fire again. So as soon as I get here, I use my hands to throw my own boxing combination, but that involves hammer fist, backhand, so on and so forth, whatever empty hand striking you may have. Now when we look at that in a combination of a jab hook this time, it's the same thing. I can parry and shield, I can elbow and shield. Okay. Now depending on how fast I am, there's also something that we call an impact gunting, and off of that jab I can smack the inside here. So instead of dissecting it, I just smack it and come right back. So depending on how fast I am, I might be able to impact gunting and then shield my way inside. And so going back to one of the first points just to finish off the video, ideally, in my interpretation of Kali, it's always finding strength in my opponent's weaknesses. So if I know Raiden's a boxer, if I see attributes of a boxer, stance, speed, technique, I'm not going to box Raiden, regardless if I am a decent boxer myself. Because by playing in a boxing range, I'm allowing his strengths to shine, which is, I'm not trying to compete against you, I'm trying to neutralize you in a self-defense aspect. So I'm either going to stay outside of boxing range and use my other tools like kicking, right, or weapon ranges if I do have a weapon on me, or I'm going to find a way to get inside and get into a grappling range, right? So another way you can look at that, we have long range. Medium range would kind of be our boxing, and then close range would be the grappling. If I stay in medium range all the time, regardless if I can do these techniques, I get a jab cross, regardless if I can do these techniques, it's still giving him the fair shot at launching it in the first place. And if Raiden always has the step on me by throwing the jab, or the cross, or the hook, and I'm just looking to counter it, I'm eventually going to get caught because Raiden's controlling the timing. So I want to find a way to neutralize it, to protect myself as it happens, but I also want to put myself in a position where I can continue to get into a controlling position or continue to dominate and then neutralize him for good. And that's essentially how you would implement your Kali empty hand techniques against a boxing specific opponent. So I hope that made some sense to you guys, and I hope that cleared the air. Thank you guys for watching this video. And as this transition continues, make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already. If you guys did enjoy this video, give this video a thumbs up. I appreciate it. And until next time, myself, maybe Raiden, catch you guys next time.